Today I'm going to be showing you how you can make those emotional pain piano beats for artists like Lil Durk. Sound selection is going to be key for getting this, and then the drum pattern and the bounce of like the hi-hat and the snare are going to be super important. So we're going to need a nice dark piano for this. We're going to use Piano 7 from my Gloom Analog Lab bank. This bank is perfect for all these types of beats. There's 53 presets in it. You can see there's all different types of leads, piano, synth, bells, guitars, basses. This bank is perfectly curated for dark trap beats, emotional type beats. It really just covers it all. So let's get into it. I'm gonna start off by making a chord progression for this. So I spent some time adjusting velocities and like the lengths of each note, stuff like that, moving it in, kind of quantizing it just a little bit. And then I also did add in the root notes down by a whole octave. And you can see these are pretty spaced out. It looks like a pretty hard chord progression, but in all honesty, all I'm doing is a couple inversions. So if I go ahead and take this F sharp and bring it down, you'll see that we just have this basic chord right here. So when this is brought down, you'll see we have a D minor chord, right? We have the 1, the 3, and the 5. So this is a very simple triad. So really I'm starting the chord off with the 1 and the 3, but I play it up an octave. And then pretty much I'm just arpeggiating the chords, as you can see, and doing like some strums here and there. And if you look at it, it looks like a pretty long strummed out version of the chord. And that happens for all the other chords besides like a couple little passing notes and different things played here. So this does sound good, but let's go ahead and transpose it up by like 1 or 2 semitones. About F. Ooh. So I really liked how that sounded, and I went ahead and added a little bit of Valhalla vintage reverb on it. I really just kind of like to wash these pianos out because they just sound good and it gives it even more emotion. So I duplicated Analog Labs. I took out the low octaves down here of the root notes. I brought the whole chord progression up by 1 octave, so just control up or down arrow. And then back in Gloom, I got pad 3.1, one of my favorite pads from the bank. Let me show you why, because there's no processing on it and it sounds like this, and we are gonna add some reverb to make it sound even better. Then we throw on a little bit of Valhalla. All I did was bring the mix down and it sounds like this. Just layers perfectly in the background, sounds really good. When I was creating Gloom, I kind of made sure that all the sounds can fit together as layers because the whole bank was created to complement each other. When making these emotional melodies, things I always like to reach for is pianos, pads, and then adding strings for sure, a vocal. So let's go ahead and create like a top line with the string. Inside of Gloom, we have strings 1 and strings 2. Strings 2 is one of my favorites. It just sounds super evil when you play it at like low notes. So we got string 2, and I'm also running it into that same reverb that we had on the pad. And then I'm gonna just figure out something cool to play on top of this. That's clean. Ooh. Wait. These two right here sound crazy together. Ooh. Oh, wow. That little transition that happens right there, and then this added in below. I love when that happens because I want to get better at doing that. So when like you're making strings and they just kind of have like that emotion to it that you hear in like movies and scores and stuff like that, like it just sounds really good, but it always just happens to me by accident. Then we just need to get a vocal in and add in my favorite processing to it, which is really just an EQ and a huge reverb. So I'm gonna go into Arcade and find a vocal, and then I will show you which one I found. If you haven't tried out Arcade yet, I have an affiliate link in the description, which will give you a 30-day free trial of Arcade, so make sure to check that out. All right, so inside of Hooked, which you know is one of my favorite banks to use from Arcade, they dropped a couple of new lines in here. I went ahead and went with this Shoulda Known one. Sometimes like the names of it just kind of sound like it would fit the beat. I don't know, like that's at least what I think. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but it did happen with this one. And I went ahead and ran that into some processing. This is really like my default setup for all types of vocals in my beats. An EQ cutting out all the low end and all the high end. I'm really just leaving it kind of like lower mid-range heavy. And then Valhalla Vintage reverb with a huge 5.5 second decay time. And then this is the vocal phrase that I found that I liked. Hopefully I can remember it. I think it went from B to E back to the higher B. There we go. Ready for the drums. Already sounding crazy. Let me show you what it sounds like without any other processing.
I should've known. Ooh, I just wanna be.
Sounds cool, but I would never have it like that. Then you throw a whole bunch of reverb on it and an EQ that just kind of cuts everything out. It's like magic. It just works and it always sounds good. Let's get into the drums. We got the classic hit 1 hi-hat, a snare, and then 808 29, kick 15, and open hat 8 from my resupply drum kit. So we're not gonna do the 2-step for the hi-hat. We're gonna go for more of a bounce. So we're gonna have 2 start off here, 1 here, and then a snare right here. And then another one right here. Then we'll place a hi-hat right here. See how they're kind of playing off each other? Then we could do probably one here. There we go. Then we just get the open hat going. Let's go ahead and just place one here. I'll probably end up layering them later with like the 808, but for now we can go ahead and place one on the 1 and one on the 3, and I'm talking about up here. Also for the hi-hat, I like to bring in different types of velocities so it kind of has like more of a bounce to it. So you can do that on like the second one right here. Just giving a little bit more bounce. Let's add one in right here. Maybe we can bring it down in velocity. Second one here. Before we jump into my favorite part, which is recording the 808, I went inside the 808 and I brought the out knob down a little bit so it has a little bit of a fade out. I wanted it a little bit shorter. And then over here, I went ahead and added a little bit of boost to it, as you can see. Then I threw a soft clipper on the master bus. So now we can have the 808 hit real hard and it's gonna give us just that perfect 808 sound. So let's go ahead and record that in. Let's layer in the kick on top of that. And yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm bringing that all the way up and I'm maxing out the velocities. So now with those two layered together, sounds like this. This is perfect. I'll leave it just like this. It's very open for an artist. And then I'm gonna arrange it real quick so you can hear what it will sound like at the end when you kind of drop in parts and take the kick and 808 away. That's how I make like an emotional pain beat for artists like Lil Durk. If you did like this video, leave a thumbs up and drop a comment down below. And of course, if you were interested in the Gloom Analog Lab Bank, there'll be a link to that in the description. Other than that, let's hear the full beat.